Close your eyes for a second. You're lying down. The room is dark. And somewhere between the last thought you had and the first dream you almost remember, there is nothing. Absolutely nothing. You vanished. No sensación. No awareness. No you. 4, 6, 7, 8 hours. The version of you that exists right now, completely gone. And here's the part nobody actually stops to sit with. You did that last night. You'll do it again tonight. You have done it roughly 10,000 times since you were born, and not once, not a single time, did you think twice about it. Slow pull back from bedroom into darkness. Stars begin to appear. Time-lapse sky. Landscape becomes ancient, tree-lean, open savanna, no artificial light anywhere. But your ancestors, they thought about it. Every single night. Because for them, the dark wasn't a setting on your phone. It was a living, breathing, hunting environment. And surviving wasn't something the brain did automatically. It was something the species had to earn. Here is the actual stakes of what we're talking about. For the vast majority of human prehistory, we're talking a window of roughly 2 million years. There was no fire on command. No walls. No lock on the door. No door. When the sun went down, the world did not pause. The leopard didn't clock out. The hyena didn't go home. The cave lion, which for context was about 30% larger than anything alive today, was just getting started. And your ancestor, this person who is genetically almost identical to you, had to figure out how to make it from sunset to sunrise without being eaten, without freezing, without losing a child, without losing their mind, using only what evolution had already given them. No tools that hadn't been invented yet. No knowledge that hadn't been passed down yet. Just a brain. And the night. And everything in that night that wanted them dead. What did they actually do? How did the species survive a threat it couldn't see, couldn't outrun, and couldn't fight alone? That's what this is about. Let's start with what darkness actually does to the human body. Because it's not just psychological. It is a full physiological event. When light disappears, your visual cortex, the part of the brain responsible for processing everything you see, doesn't go quiet. It gets louder, significantly louder. In the absence of visual input, the brain begins amplifying signal. It starts pulling noise from the environment, the rustle of leaves, a branch snap, a shift in air pressure, and it starts assigning meaning to it. Threat meaning. Fast. This is called hypervigilance. And in the modern world, we treat it like a symptom. In the prehistoric world, it was the feature that kept you breathing. Think about the last time you heard a sound in the dark that made you freeze. Your breath shallowed. Your muscles locked. Your eyes went wide, even though there was nothing to see. You did that in under a quarter of a second. You didn't decide to do it. Your amygdala did it for you, and it did it using a threat detection system that is literally ancient. That response is not modern anxiety. That is a 2 million-year-old alarm system that is still running the background process on your body right now. Here's what happens in sequence. Darkness triggers the suprachiasmatic nucleus, a cluster of roughly 20,000 neurons sitting just above your optic nerve, to begin releasing melatonin. Melatonin starts pulling your core body temperature down. Your reaction time slows. Your decision-making softens. Your body is preparing for unconsciousness. It is actively engineering your own vulnerability. And your ancestor knew this, not in the language of neuroscience, but in the felt experience of their body becoming slower, heavier, harder to trust, while everything outside them was becoming faster. That is the central terror of the prehistoric night. Not just what was out there, but what was happening in here. The controlled use of fire is one of the most consequential inventions in the entire biological history of this species. And I don't mean that the way a textbook means it. I mean in the most visceral, immediate survival math way possible. Fire did not just provide warmth. Fire redrew the boundary of the night. Here's what a circle of firelight actually does in a predator-dense environment. It creates a perimeter. Most large carnivores that would have hunted ancient humans, cave lions, leopards, spotted hyenas in packs, are ambush or pursuit predators. They require either the element of surprise or the advantage of darkness to close the distance. Fire eliminates both. Within the lit circle, your ancestor could see. They could react. They had time. And in survival arithmetic, time is everything. We have a version of this today, by the way. Every city on Earth is just fire. Extended, electrified, industrialized fire. Blasted outward in every direction so that the dark never fully arrives. Your street lamp is a 10,000-year-old psychological comfort mechanism that someone never turned off. And you never questioned it, because why would you? It works. It has always worked. It will keep working until the grid goes down. And then, very quickly, you will understand why your hand starts shaking. But here's the thing about fire that most people miss when they think about early human survival. Fire didn't just repel predators. Fire created something the species had never had before in the dark. Social architecture. Around a fire, you could see faces. You could communicate. You could watch over children. You could coordinate. You could tell stories, which, if you understand what stories actually are in an evolutionary context, are a technology for transmitting survival information across generations without requiring direct experience of the threat. You didn't have to be eaten by a cave lion to know what a cave lion does. Someone around a fire told you. And now you know. And you survive. And you pass that down. Fire didn't just keep the dark back. Fire built the foundation of human culture. And it did it specifically because the night demanded it. Now let's talk about the part of prehistoric night survival that is most directly written into your body right now. Because this one is personal. You do not sleep the way evolution designed you to sleep. Modern humans operate on a monophasic sleep schedule. One long block, typically at night, ideally uninterrupted, ideally 8 hours, ideally with no one trying to eat you. This is a relatively recent social construction. Ancient humans almost certainly did not sleep this way. There is substantial anthropological and biological evidence suggesting that early human sleep was segmented, social, and deliberately staggered within a group. Not everyone went unconscious at the same time. That would have been a death sentence. Researchers studying sleep patterns in contemporary hunter-gatherer societies, the Hadza of Tanzania, the San people of the Kalahari, have found that across a group sleeping together, there are almost always individuals in lighter sleep stages at any given hour. The night watch wasn't assigned. It was biologically distributed. Imagine you are in a group of 12. It's the third hour of darkness. The fire is burned down to coals. You're in the lightest phase of your sleep cycle, that fragile, semi-conscious state where a sound can surface you in under a second. And across the clearing, someone else is in deep sleep. Someone else is dreaming. Someone else is somewhere in between. At no point in that night is the entire group fully unconscious simultaneously. The group itself becomes the alarm system. The species protected itself by sleeping in layers. This has a direct implication for the modern experience of waking up at 3 a.m. and not being able to fall back asleep. There's a growing body of sleep research, and this is legitimately fascinating, suggesting that the phenomenon of biphasic sleep, waking for an hour or two in the middle of the night, was the biological norm for most of human history. Medieval European records even have a name for it: the first sleep and the second sleep. The period between them was for quiet activity, prayer, reflection, intimacy, checking on the fire. The version of insomnia that millions of people treat as a disorder tonight might be an evolutionary feature running in the wrong century. Your body waking up at 3 a.m. is not broken. It is looking for the fire. It is checking on the group. It is doing exactly what it was built to do. Let's be specific about the threat, because the word predator is abstract. The reality was not. During the Pleistocene epoch, which runs from roughly 2.5 million years ago to about 11,000 years ago, the roster of things that could kill a human at night reads like something a screenwriter invented and then decided was too extreme. The Dinofelis, a false saber-toothed cat roughly the size of a modern jaguar, but with semi-retractable claws and a killing bite specifically adapted to the human skull. Paleoanthropologists have found Australopithecus bones in South African caves, in the same caves Dinofelis used as lairs, with puncture marks matching its bite exactly. The caves we use for shelter were sometimes already occupied. The giant hyena, Pachycracuda brevirostris, twice the size of a modern spotted hyena. Pack hunter, primarily nocturnal. capable of crushing bone that no other predator on the continent could touch. Your ancestors' bones show signs of having been processed by animals like this. That sentence means something specific. Processed. There's almost nothing left. I want to just pause here and acknowledge something. We talk about ancient human resilience, and we should, but there's a version of this history that gets sanitized into heroism. The truth is more uncomfortable than that. There were nights that didn't end well. There were groups that made every right decision, staggered their sleep, kept the fire, stayed quiet, and still lost people. The species survived. Individuals absolutely did not always. And sitting with that, the sheer brutality of what the night actually was makes the survival of the lineage feel less like inevitability and more like a miracle that compounded slowly across 100,000 generations. The leopard is the one that concerns anthropologists most, because the leopard is a specialist. It caches its kills in trees. It hunts silently. It is patient at a level that feels almost strategic. And crucially, it targets sleeping prey. There's fossil evidence from Swartkrans Cave in South Africa showing repeated, consistent leopard predation on early hominids, specifically during rest states. The leopard understood the vulnerability window. It waited for it. It exploited it. And your ancestors' nervous system knew this, which is why, even today,
they had essentially no technology by any modern definition of the term. What they had was each other, with a depth of mutual knowledge, mutual obligation, and mutual surveillance that we have systematically traded away for privacy, mobility, and the extraordinary productive efficiency of modern individualism. Whether that trade was worth it, that is a calculation the data cannot make for you. But the humans who pressed their hands into that cave wall 75,000 years ago, who left the most durable individual statement available to them in a world where individual statements were not guaranteed to survive the night, they knew what they were. They knew how fragile they were. They knew exactly what it cost to still be there, hand against stone, leaving evidence of their existence for a species that would not arrive for 75 millennia. And they did it anyway. The question worth sitting with is not how they survived it. The archaeological record has answered that with enough resolution to satisfy most analytical frameworks. The question worth sitting with is what it cost them to know.
in complete safety, in a room with a locked door and a smoke alarm and a phone with 911 preloaded, your brain still runs a light security scan before it lets you go fully unconscious. It is still checking for the leopard. Every single night. This is the part that doesn't get talked about. Surviving the night wasn't just a physical challenge. It was a cognitive one. And over generations. Over thousands of years of nights exactly like the ones we've been describing. The sustained cognitive load of darkness shaped the architecture of the human brain itself. Chronic nocturnal vigilance has a cost. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, doesn't just spike and recover. Under conditions of repeated, sustained threat, cortisol levels stay elevated for extended periods. In modern clinical terms, that's called chronic stress. In prehistoric terms, it was called Tuesday. Here is what sustained cortisol does to cognition over time. It sharpens threat detection. It deepens threat memory. It makes the brain progressively better at remembering exactly what fear felt like and exactly what caused it, so that the next time that stimulus appears, the response is faster. The brain essentially builds a threat library. Every dangerous night gets indexed. Every sound that preceded danger gets cataloged. Every visual pattern, low light, moving shadow, peripheral motion, gets flagged permanently. You have this library, right now, running in you. The reason a horror movie works on you, even when you know intellectually that it is not real, that you are safe, that the monster is CGI, is because your threat library doesn't care about your intellectual context. It only cares about the stimulus pattern, dark environment, unknown sound, peripheral movement, elevated heart rate. That is not entertainment. That is your ancestors' worst night, playing on a loop, in a comfortable chair, with snacks. And here's the part that ties it all together. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thought, long-term planning, emotional regulation, did not develop in a vacuum. It developed under pressure. The specific pressure of needing to override panic at 2 a.m., to stay quiet when everything in your biology was screaming to run, to make strategic decisions about fire and positioning and group rotation, while cortisol was flooding your system and something large was moving just outside the light. The night stress tested the mind into becoming what it is. The capacity you use right now to regulate your emotions in a difficult meeting, to hold back an impulsive reaction, to stay calm when your nervous system is spiking. That is a skill your ancestors built in the dark, under genuine threat, over and over and over again until it became biological inheritance. You're the product of every person in your lineage who made it to sunrise. Every single one of them had a night that tested that. A night when the fire was low and the sound were wrong, and the group was quiet and the darkness was total. And they held. They held. They made it to morning. And then they passed down the biology that made holding possible. So what do we do with all of this? The night is safer now. Objectively, structurally, measurably safer. The cave lion is gone. The Dinofelis is extinct. The Pachacracuda hasn't walked the earth for 500,000 years. You have walls. You have locks. You have light switches. And yet, you still check behind the shower curtain. You still feel your heart rate shift when a room goes dark unexpectedly. You still have nights, 3 a.m. nights, where something wakes you and you lie there listening completely still for a sound that doesn't come. Not because you're anxious, not because something is wrong, but because your body is running a program that was written before language, before cities, before the concept of safety even existed as an idea. Ancient human in darkness on one side, modern human in bed on the other. Same posture, same alert eyes, same held breath. Camera slowly merges the two. The fears you feel in the dark are not irrational. They are ancient, which is different. Irrational means the fear has no logical basis. Ancient means the fear has an extremely logical basis. It just belongs to a context that no longer exists. Your nervous system doesn't know that. Your nervous system is running the same operating system it ran 100,000 years ago, because that operating system worked. It worked so well that here you are, on the other side of every brutal night your entire lineage ever faced. And I think there's something genuinely grounding in that. Not in a motivational poster way, but in a real, structural, this changes how I relate to my own body way. When you feel that 3 a.m. vigilance, when you feel the hypervigilance at a dark window, the check behind the door impulse, the reluctance to fully let go into sleep, you are not experiencing a malfunction. You are experiencing the successful transmission of a survival system across 100,000 years of brutal nights. That is not a bug. That is the inheritance. A lone ancient human on a hill, watching the dawn break over a vast landscape. Fire behind them, darkness retreating, the light coming, slowly, reliably, as it always has. The night was never going to win. Not because it wasn't dangerous. It was not because our ancestors were superhuman. They weren't. But because the species had something the night couldn't account for. The capacity to adapt, to learn, to remember, to tell the story around the fire so the next generation wouldn't have to learn it the hard way. And here you are, the story made flesh, still carrying the fire. The brain decided a long time ago that the night was worth being afraid of. And honestly, given what was actually out there, it was right. The predators are gone. The darkness is tamed. The fire is everywhere now. But the brain still keeps watch, still scans the perimeter, still checks, still holds. And honestly, maybe it's for the best.